On first part of day 3, we will go through most common Excel activities. But first, I want to introduce Data Table, a data type you will mostly use when working with Excel. To create a new data table in akaBot, we have 4 activities. Build data table. Create new blank data table variable with custom settings. Read range, Excel read range. Read the data from an existing Excel file. Read CSV file. Read the data from an existing CSV file. And extract structured data. Extract structured data from browser to a data table. Each will has a data table as output that you can manipulate using these activities.
We can add a new column to a data table using column name or a column object, or we can add a new data row to a data table using array of objects, or a data row object. We can merge 2 data tables into one using merge data table, with multiple options to handle mismatch columns. Lookup data table can be used when you want to find a specific value in a column of data table. The output can be the row index for that value, or a value in a different column at that row. Filter data table allows you to keep or remove rows that satisfy certain filter criteria, and select which columns you want to appear in the result table. Join data tables helps you join 2 tables based on a selected column from each table. Some other activities we will usually use are: for each row. Use to iterate through each row of data table and perform the same set of actions. Clear data table. Clear data off a data table, but keep the columns format. Output data table. Convert data table to a string, which is useful when debugging. Remove data column. Remove data row. Remove a column or row from data table. Sort data table. Sort data table by ascending or descending order based on a specified column. Working with data table is working with the data inside the workbook. To interact with the workbook itself, we will need the Excel activity set. akaBot offers 2 sets of activities to access standard Excel workbook: Excel Interop and Closed XML. Closed XML does not require Microsoft Excel to be installed on akaBot machine, but it only allows some basic interactions with a workbook, such as read range, read a data table from workbook sheet, read row, read column, read a row or column in Excel sheet, start from the cell specified in starting cell, write cell, write range, write a single value or a data table to Excel sheet, start from the cell specified in starting cell. Append range. Add the information stored in a data table variable to the end of a specified Excel spreadsheet. Excel Interop, on the other hand, will requires a licensed version of Microsoft Excel install on akaBot machine. And every activities must be inside an Excel application scope activity. It has every activities just like Closed XML, and many other advanced activities, such as get workbook sheets, get list of every sheets in current Excel file, lookup range, look up a value in Excel sheet and return the cell address, set range format, set format for a range in Excel sheet, and a set of activities to insert, execute, or remove VBA script, which allows many complicate actions on an Excel file. The last set of activities to interact with table file is CSV set. Read CSV file. Read CSV file to data table. Write CSV file. Write a data table to CSV file. Append CSV file. Append a data table to the end of a CSV file. You can find details for every Excel activities on akaBot documentation website. To understand more about Excel activities and data table, please practice this exercise using akaBot. The next section for day 3 will be interaction with Windows applications and web browser. The main reason we're using RPA. The most important thing to know when working with Windows and browser activity is selector. Each button, Each text box on your screen is called an UI element. In order for akaBot to know which element it should interact with, we have to build a selector. For example, a Windows type into activity. When I click on Pick Target Element, the selector builder will open. I will select the text area of Notepad application, where I want to type the text demo akaBot into. The selector has been generated on screen. I can edit the selector here. Or click OK. And edit the selector on this screen. You can see a Windows selector contains tag, class name, and many other properties. Now, I can click OK. And run the file. akaBot has found the Notepad windows and typed the text successfully. But sometime, default selector will have some problem. Like this case, if I run this file again. akaBot will throw an error because it cannot file the Notepad text area. If we inspect the selector closely, we will find that the name of Notepad Windows is untitled, Notepad. But since we have edited this file, the window name will have an asterisk. So akaBot won't detect this window. If we want akaBot to detect this window, we have to optimize the selector. The most common way to achieve this is using wildcard or asterisk character. I will change the window name to only an asterisk character like this. Then click OK. Now I run this file again. akaBot can type into the Notepad window correctly. Another way to customize a selector is using variable in selector. Given that I have a variable carry the window name, I will put the variable in the selector like this. Then I save it and run the file again. It can still find the Notepad window. The browser selectors are very similar to Windows selectors, except that we don't have a separate selector editor. After install akaBot extension for browser, we can click Pick Target Element and select Element on website. The selector will be generated. We can edit selector on this screen, just like Windows selector. This slide summarizes why the default selector is not reliable in some cases, and how we can customize them. Next, we will go through most common activities in Windows Activities package. Terminate process. Cause a process to exit. Open window. Open an application and execute multiple activities within it. Find control. Finds a window element and stores it as an automation element variable. Send hotkey. Send a keyboard shortcut to a window element. Click. Click a specified UI element. Type into. Type into a text field of an indicated window. Get text. Get text from Windows application. Get property. Retrieve the value of a specified property of a window element. To interact with browser, there are several packages can be used. Native browser. Can use all logged in account, saved cookie, password. This package does not require a WebDriver, but it will be slower compared to browser package. Browser. Open a browser as automated software. Recommend in some specific cases like website contains multiple frame and requires switching between those frame. It's faster than native browser in most case, but it requires a WebDriver. Internet Explorer. Used for old application that only run with IE. Before we can interact with modern browser like Chrome or Microsoft Edge, akaBot extension need to be installed as per this instruction. And as mentioned before, browser package requires a WebDriver. This is the instruction to find and install Chrome driver. Edge driver can be set up following the same method. After setting up WebDriver and browser extension, we can utilize these most common browser activities. Open browser. Navigate to a specified URL by launching a browser and executing multiple activities within it. Navigate to another URL on the current browser. Extract structured data. Extract data in table format. Inject JavaScript. Inject JavaScript code on a web page. Click. Send a click action into a web page. Type texts into any text field within the web page. Get text. Extracts text on a web page and saves it in a string variable. Get web attribute. Get the value of an attribute that belongs to the browser element. Most of these activities exist in all three browser packages with similar usage. You can find the details for every activities on akaBot documentation page. Default browser selectors will sometimes have the same problem as Windows selectors, they are not reliable enough. To address this, we can use Inspect tool in browser. To inspect a browser element, we can right-click an element and click Inspect. Or we can press F12 to open Developer screen and select Elements tab. We can build a better path like this. Then we can copy and paste this path into the akaBot selector. Building path this way allows browser interaction without installing akaBot extension. Another powerful tool when working with browser is Inject JavaScript. Basic JavaScript command can use to interact with web element. Return searched element. Count elements. Type into web field. Get text field. Click on button. Using JavaScript is often safer and faster in compare with using akaBot activity. To test a JavaScript command on browser, open Developer tool and go to Console tab. For example, this command will click SQL Tutorial tab. After validation of JavaScript command, we can paste it into Inject JavaScript activity. And make sure to quote the command. On the last section of Day 3 are mail activities, which support several mailing systems such as Exchange, Outlook, IMAP, SMTP. The usage for Outlook activities, similar to other mailing system includes: Get Outlook accounts. Return an array of logged-in Outlook accounts in the local machine. Send Outlook mail. Send email message from Outlook. Get Outlook mail messages. Return a list of mail messages which satisfy the optional conditions. Save Outlook attachments. Save any attachments from an Outlook email into local folder. Move Outlook message. Move the Outlook email to the specific folder. Mail activities work with variable type mail message, which store one email item get from the email clients. Mail message variables are mainly used when processing attribute relate to mail, such as subject, body, send or receive date, sender, receiver, etc. Common methods that can be used with mail message can be seen on the screen. Lastly, to better understand Day 3 of this training program, please practice this exercise, which combine browser, Excel, and mail activities. Thank you for joining today.